Chris Scalzo here with
Matt Howell.
And on this episode of The First Run, we got a lot to unpack here. Okay, we're going to talk about the new Fantastic Four film. I got a chance to see it. Unfortunately, Matt, you were too busy doing your community service to check it out. But we did also catch up with the 1994 version, the Roger Corman shelved version of the Fantastic Four, which was filmed basically just for him to retain the rights. And there may be some equivalency going on there, something. And then also, I'll spend a few minutes talking about Joel Edgerton's The Gift, which he wrote, directed, and stars in. We'll tell you what's coming up on Blu-Ray and DVD, and they'll do some news perhaps. And then finally, it's going to be Who Dat, everybody's favorite role-playing game where I get to wear a mask and some questionable costumes. So let's start everything off, though, with Fantastic Four 2015.
Dr. Storm, we gave you 6 years and millions of dollars, and you gave us nothing. What's different now?
Reed Richards. He knows answers to questions we don't even know to ask yet. This is our chance to learn more about our planet and maybe even save it. I want you to meet my daughter, Sue.
You want to be famous?
I just want my work to make a difference.
Johnny, Reed.
This guy doesn't take orders well.
Yeah, especially from people who say, I don't take orders well.
Don't let any of these lab coats give you any crap, all right?
Well, if I do, I know who to call. The Muscle.
They just cracked interdimensional travel.
Incredible.
All I want to know is where are my children?
4 have survived. All exhibit unique physical conditions.
I just want to fix my friends.
You can't fix this.
You should use these powers to help people.
You opened a door you don't know how to close. You don't know anything about what's coming.
Okay, Matt. Okay. So this film has gotten a lot of bad buzz. There were critic reviews. I think it was sitting last time I checked at about 9% in Rotten Tomatoes. Not good. Not good. But you know what? The critics didn't really seem to care for Terminator. What's it called? Not Salvation, but
Genesis.
Genesis, thank you. And I thought it was okay. You know, when it comes to Terminator sequels, specifically 3 and 4, I think it may have been better than those, and I enjoyed it, and I think they were unfairly harsh. So I was wondering, is this the same thing with the Fantastic Four? It's quite possible. So we went and checked it out, and no. I really think the problem with this film is I don't know if we have enough time to go into the problems with this film, all of them. There's a lot going on. You have Josh Trank, who did a reasonably entertaining. I don't know if you were on the show back then. Were you here for Chronicle? I think you were gone in that window.
I don't remember reviewing it for the show, but I have seen it.
Okay. And Chronicle is a reasonably entertaining film. It's a found footage movie about basically the origin story of a supervillain. Mm-hmm. And it's reasonably well done. So Trank was given the reins for this Fantastic Four film. And from everything I've read, it's been basically a nightmare from the very beginning. That Trank was very difficult to work with. He wouldn't come out of his trailer only to kind of shoot some scenes, and then he'd just go right back into the trailer. That he had advised all the actors to perform with as dead a look as possible, and then they digitally do stuff to them later, which I can't imagine that's true, but if it is, whatever. And then he delivers. But he wants to do something really different, something very serious. He wants to do basically his plan is to do The Dark Knight for Marvel.
Right.
If that's his aim, he fails miserably. Now, I want to cut him a little bit of slack because supposedly Marvel saw the cut of the film. They said, this is not working. So they went in and Drew Goddard, the guy who did Cabin in the Woods.
Yep.
Supposedly came in. Rumor has it he reshot some of the scenes and added some stuff into it with some other people. And if specifically the end, and if that's true, then I don't know if I want Goddard to get involved in anything again either. So I'll cut him some slack. I'm not going to blame him for this. I'm going to blame Fox. So basically, it boils down to Fox running out of time. They had to get this movie out, just like Corman, to retain the rights to the Fantastic Four. What's great is they have Marvel themselves sabotaging this by canceling the Fantastic Four comic series, almost a year ago.
Right.
To try and die down anticipation because they can pull it back into their stable with the Avengers, like how they've gotten Spider-Man. Now, they realize, they're never going to get X-Men, but that's whatever. So there's that component of it, and it's a bad... There's some interesting ideas. In the beginning of the film, it starts off with a young Reed and a young Ben Grimm. They're like in, I think, elementary school, maybe middle school. And of course, Reed's already kind of a social misfit, though they kind of discard that when they shift to adulthood. But he's brilliant, and he's working on his transporter thing. They don't do the space thing. In the original series, the comics and stuff, they go into space, they get hit with the cosmic rays, and it affects them all differently. I liked how their idea of how they got their powers in this. Why does one be able to turn to flames? Why can one stretch? Why does one look like a big rock monster? I appreciated that. It made a little more sense to me, actually.
Okay.
But the rest of it, it's a mess. The problem is there's no plot. The film just kind of slowly bumbles around, right? It starts off as just a decent enough, then it bumbles around for about an hour and 15 minutes. And then, boom, it's like, oh, crap, wait, we need an ending. So and I'm just going to tell you, because I don't think it cares, and I don't want you to see this movie. I don't want you to spend the money on it. It's not worth your time. So instead of Sue Storm, Ben Grimm, Johnny, and Reed instead of going into space, they find a way to teleport to another dimension. It's one where they actually, if you see Civil War, of course they can't tie this in, but in the comics Civil War, that's where they put all the criminals. Was the negative zone, or I think it's called. So that's what it is. They go to the negative zone, but this time it's Reed, Ben, Johnny, and Victor Von Doom, and I think his name is supposed to be Dumashev in this instead. And that, I don't want to get off my. I'll get back to him in a minute. So it's the four of them, not Sue. She's not on the trip. What happens is the government, they figure out how to do it, and the government's going to take control of it and send like NASA and astronauts to do it instead of them. And they want to go, so they say, you know what, screw it, let's do it. So they go there, and of course Victor is too greedy, and he keeps going further and further out in this dimension, and he sees this weird chemical green stuff because that's where the green come from Dr. Doom.
Gotcha.
Whatever. So he touches it and then explodes in his face, and he falls into a big pit of it. And the other three people escape, and they get back to their dimension. But as they get back, everything's going wrong on the planet. Things are geysering and blowing up, a la Krypton, Yeah. And when they get back, some of this cosmic radiation stuff explodes through the wormhole, whatever it is they create, and that's how Sue gets infected, for lack of a better term. So that's how everybody gets their power. So the thing breaks, and a bunch of rocks end up hitting Ben. And then Johnny Storm, where he is in the ship, explodes, and he gets doused with flames after he's got this weird green stuff on him. And Reed's, I can't remember what the whole thing with Reed was. And I said that's always for me, I felt has been the stupidest power of any superhero, is the ability to stretch.
Yeah, they
do what they can with it, and making it look useful, but it really isn't. So they get back, and then it's like a year passes, and they've been confined in this military installation. Now, Ben Grimm, the big thing, is going off on government missions and blowing stuff up. Reed's captured, but he escapes and gets away, and he's trying to look for a way to help everybody in this weird, like in not Mexico, but I can't remember, someplace else. And Sue and Johnny are working for the government as well as researchers, and Johnny wants to get into the field because he's the Human Torch. And why would you? Out of all of them, he was the coolest one, right? Human Torch, that's the one you'd want to be. Yeah. Okay. So.
What? Yeah. Yes. The Human Torch. Yes.
Thank you. You got to remember this is mostly audio, so you have to say things. Nodding doesn't help.
Oh, okay.
So all this stuff is happening, and there's lots of angsty stuff. We're working for the government, or are we? And what are we going to do about our powers? Should we try and fix it? Reed still cares. He's out there. He's going to come back and help us. Blah blah blah. And then it's just interminable. It goes on forever, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh wait a minute, we got to figure out a way to finish the movie. So then they're like, all right, well, we got to get Doctor Doom back into the show.
Mm-hmm.
So they finally get to a point where they can go back, build a new machine because the last one blows up, and they go back, and it's a year or so later, and when they get there, there's somebody walking towards them. Everybody freaks, and of course it's Doom. And what happened is his spacesuit fused with his body,
Right.
so he doesn't have the armor or anything. He just looks really weird, and he has these unbelievable powers. Pretty much anything you can think of, he can do. He's not he's not really defined at all. They try and turn him into. They try and say he's like this big egomaniacal bad guy. He just goes insane, but they don't give him any time to develop. They don't give anybody in this. None of these characters in this film have any personality, except for Dumashev, who is. He's just, he wants to get the results and do stuff at all costs, and he's obsessed with power, blah, blah, blah. But we jettison the whole Latverian thing, the rule. None of that matters. And he ends up just deciding he wants to destroy Earth and rule the negative zone place, even though he's alone. There's nobody there. But he's building worlds there, a la Secret Wars, when he gets the Beyonder's power.
Right.
How much of a geek am I that I can just rattle that off?
Yeah, seriously.
So he is, it's just stupid. He tries to create a black hole to swallow up the Earth, and that's it. And it's dumb.
Well, that's really saying something that it's dumb.
Yeah, it's. I don't know what to say. It's there's no stakes, there's no plot. The ending is absolutely ridiculous. It's just a failure from start to finish. I feel bad for Trank. I mean. When all this stuff started happening, he got yanked off of that Star Wars film, right? He was supposed to direct one of the other films, and after all this happened, I'm like, nope.
Right.
So I don't know if it's an issue of where he's just incompetent, and he just got lucky because he had a small budget and he could do whatever he wanted with that first film, and now we had to work with a studio that their only concern is we got to get this thing out because we got to hold on to the rights of this thing. And unfortunately, it's a series, it's a franchise, it's a comic book group that I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know how many people really care about.
Right.
I think the Fantastic Four is time. Their time is over. They don't let they're cosmic kind of. They're more about 50s space adventure type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't think that plays well. And it doesn't help that a lot of their powers are dumb.
Well, a lot of the press that I've read about Trank and how he was on the set, it sounded like he almost went into kind of like a Coppola, Heart of Darkness, Apocalypse Now hole. Like he apparently he wouldn't talk to anybody on the cast, and he built a tent, a blackout tent around his monitor and stuff, and he basically wouldn't let anybody come in and talk to him while he was watching the dailies and making films and stuff like that. So it just sounded like he kind of just buckled, I think, under the pressure of all of the expectations that this thing had.
But did it really? I don't know.
But I'm not saying. But for him, I mean, it's his first big Hollywood break. It's a huge, I think they went into it hoping that this thing would make money. I mean, obviously, if he had done it right, or, he was probably thinking that if he had done well, then maybe this would bring back the Fantastic Four to, prominence. I mean, hell, Marvel managed to do it with Guardians of the Galaxy, which is even more ridiculous than the Fantastic Four is. So, he probably just was obsessed, and, he just kind of lost it.
That's true. I mean, if you can make Ant-Man an entertaining film that you want to see again in a series you'd like to see continue, you should be able to do that with the Fantastic Four.
Right.
I think that's a fair point. I don't know. It's just it's a misstep. It's just every decision was wrong.
Right.
And everything. It's unusual to see this calamitous a production get released. They should have just sat on it like they did the one from '95.
Yeah,
it's or 94. It's that bad. I can't. There's this part where when they did the reshoots, there's actually a whole. I think it's a Tumblr. Or there's some website totally dedicated to it, where Kate Mara had to wear a blonde wig because her hair was really short or something at that point.
Right.
It's so glaringly bad and obvious that it's a wig. There's a whole website dedicated to it. Thing doesn't have pants on for some reason. I don't know why. I guess because you do get a full body shot of him, thankfully. So you see, he doesn't need pants. So if I was him, I'd be pretty upset about that. And like, again, I don't know why it's so damn hard to get Doctor Doom right. One of the archetypal, one of the greatest villains in the history of comic books, and every time he's wrong. Every time.
Right.
This one too. You know what's sad for me? Doctor Doom in the crappy Corman Fantastic Four was better.
Yeah, he was.
And he's right. He was exactly right, and is exactly how he should have been in that film.
Right. I mean, the thing is, the thing that I think one that people forget about Doctor Doom is that a lot of what Doctor Doom does is based on magic. He's a sorcerer, and they never want to seem to go into that kind of stuff that he has magic powers, So, I think that's part of it, is that, they keep trying to come up with this kind of standard supervillain, origin story. Like, I think, if I remember correctly, the first ones are the ones with Jessica Alba and Chris Evans. I think he was like a techno guy. Like, he had all these technology-based powers and stuff like that. So, I think that's really what a lot of it is. Just people just don't understand kind of his whole motivation and what he can do. I think, and to be quite honest with you, I'm kind of perversely glad that this thing tanked, because it just makes it more likely that maybe Fox will, even though I know they have a very strained relationship with Marvel, that maybe they'll try and either sell these back or do something like Sony's doing with Spider-Man. And even not so much to even get the Fantastic Four. If we could get like Doom interacting with Doctor Strange, I think that would be pretty sweet at some point in the future. And the really big thing is, after Infinity War, if it, all that stuff happens, you could get the rights back to Galactus and the Silver Surfer and the Heralds and all that stuff. You could really kind of, I think they could make an entire thing, an entire phase based on that.
That would be good. I would hope something like that might happen. Yeah, I think that's true, because if you look at Doom's whole thing, he's a gypsy, right? Or his mom is a gypsy witch, and she gets possessed or taken to hell.
Yeah,
by one of Marvel's many Satans, and yeah, he's tech and magic kind of mixed together.
Right.
But yeah, you're right. They keep tanking him, and that's what saddens me. And we can transition right into it. That I really think, for all its cheesiness and horribleness, I think 94 is a better film.
Yeah. It
captures the spirit more of the series than that this film did.
Yeah, it's definitely got, it kind of catches the goofy family quality. I mean, granted, the acting is terrible, the effects are terrible, the sets are terrible, but you know what? It has a kind of D-list, Z-list charm to it that, at least they're having fun with it to an extent, more than any of the other ones that were big budget had. I actually didn't, as bad as it was, it held a certain kind of drive-in, cult movie charm to watching it.
It did, and you mentioned visual effects too. I forgot this. The visual effects in the new version of the 2015 were horrible as well.
Right.
I feel like there was a couple things that looked really great, and I think maybe they just ran out of money. I don't know, but there's some scenes near the end of this film, even halfway through, where it is so painfully obvious you're working on a green screen. It's like in the 50s when you can see the actors are standing in front of the map painting of the countryside. It's like that bad. I can't believe in a film in this day and age with this kind of budget that they would let that go. It's blew my mind. But you're right. That I loved the effects though in the '94 version. I think that's what it is. You're right. It's It's got D-level quality, so you give it a little room. You give it a little room to breathe, and it is atrocious. I wanted to give Johnny Storm a wedgie and stuff him in a locker every time he was on screen.
Yeah.
Is there a more over-the-top, ridiculous performance that you've seen, except for
no? Yeah,
it was like I was watching The Room. It really felt like that. He felt like was it Danny, the kid that keeps bothering them all the time?
Right.
That's what he reminded me of.
His hair, by the way, was absolutely fantastic. That was a nice blonde mop that he had on top of there. Yeah, I mean, he was, the thing. They just all were just like complete, just train wrecks of characters. But it was great watching it. It was fun. I mean, Reed is this, kind of condescending, paternalistic guy. The Thing is basically his base instincts of he's a tough growling guy, and he likes to fight and all this kind of stuff, and he's also tortured because of how he looks. And by the way, I also loved how the Thing could never lift his arms above this far. They would go this far. Everything he was doing. Or when you get to see Johnny flame on, where it basically looks like something from the Lawnmower Man, except even worse. And also, obviously, Mr. Fantastic. His basically all he could do was stretch his arm, which was also awesome. Watching him do that.
I did enjoy it. And you know what, too? I felt that the Doctor Doom was perfect.
Yeah.
Exactly the way he was supposed to be. The costume was right. Why is that so hard?
Right.
I saw on I was on Reddit, and then some guy had posted the side by sides of Doctor Doom from cosplay.
Yeah.
From the movie, he did the same thing for Apocalypse, and then the reveal of Apocalypse from the new X-Men movie.
Right.
Why is this so difficult that cosplay people can nail it, but the movies can't?
Well, because they actually have affection for the source material, whereas a lot of these movie guys they don't. And you know who you can thank for that? Your boy. You can thank your boy for that.
Who? Chris Nolan?
Yeah, they all think that. I think there's still kind of this running undercurrent, except for at the Marvel movies, that you got to kind of take this stuff seriously. And if you want it to be taken seriously, then it's got to be, you got to come up with a semi-reasonable explanation for all of this stuff. I mean, why can't you just say, yeah, homeboy was Reed's college roommate, that they had a falling out and he became a dictator with tech and magic powers who's completely insane.
Part of me wants to push back on you with that, go specific with the costumes and say it starts with Bryan Singer and the X-Men when they all wore leather jumpsuits instead of wearing their actual costumes. And that's why everything had to be adapted to be more realistic. Have you seen Apocalypse for the new X-Men film?
Oh yeah, I have seen. And what's funny about that, and what and not to, obviously, what I think is even more funny, just not for any kind of sexist reason, but because her costume is just absolutely ridiculous and stupid, is how they somehow managed to make Olivia Munn's Psylocke costume look exactly like the comic, with the bathing suit and the weird tassels hanging off of her, but they somehow screw up, make it look like the guy from Guardians of the Galaxy for Apocalypse.
I think he looks even more I feel like he was walking off the set of David Lynch's Dune.
True.
I mean, it's really, I think it's a major misstep, their Apocalypse. If you know what, even just CGI it. If you got to do that. I mean, but I think Ronan the Accuser and Guardians looked pretty dead on.
Right.
This Apocalypse looks nothing, and I think Apocalypse is one of the cooler villain designs. So I think it's a major mistake. Who knows though? Maybe it'll be glorious and it'll win a bunch of Oscars.
Right. Right.
So Fantastic Four 94. I mean, it's cheap as all hell. The set design, everything, the laser guns when they're shooting. Like you said, my favorite too, when Johnny Storm becomes the full Human Torch, is laughably bad. But it's a technology, I guess, at the time. I don't know. I can't imagine anything that bad.
Yeah.
And one of the things that really stood out to me was the relationship between Reed and Sue. At the very beginning of this film, Reed is probably what? Is he in his 20s? No, he's in college. So he's probably like 18, 19. And Sue's got to be 7, maybe 11.
Right.
And she fawns all over Reed. And he's like, all right, whatever, kid, get away from me. And then he meets him 10 years later. And, of course, she's a knockout. And he's like, all right, game on. Let's do this.
Hey, he's not made of stone. What is he going to do?
That's right. He's the one that stretches.
That's right. Exactly.
He goes full on Jerry Lee Lewis on us. And it's just, it didn't sit right with me the whole time.
Right.
I don't know why they couldn't have been peers. It's a weird decision to have gone that route. I don't know. And I love the costumes, how just horrible they look. I imagine Sue walks in with those costumes and I'd be like, oh hell no.
No, you're gonna have to. Yeah, they look like something that you and I could make by going down to like Hobby Lobby and spending an afternoon putting them together.
The fours are so big they almost take over their entire chest of their suit, of their costumes. Yep. They do. They look like Halloween costumes. Like you go down to Party City and pick them up. They're that bad.
Yes, they are. They are. They are terrible. But hey, at least it had the 4 on it, right? At least at least they look kind of like the comic books instead of what basically we've gotten in every other big budget movie version of the Fantastic Four.
Oh, you know another thing that drove me crazy about the new Fantastic Four? At the very end of the film, everybody's reunited, everybody's good, they've saved the world, blah blah blah. So the 4 of them are going to get an all-new lab. They can do all that they want to do because they're setting up for the sequel, which, sit down, folks, may still happen.
What?
They say they're still going to go forward with a sequel.
But it made no money. This didn't make any money.
Suppose I think it's just because they want to hold on to the property and they think now that they have the time to make it right.
And they can learn from their mistakes.
Whatever, I don't know.
They got that pesky origin out of the way.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't actually happen, but I think they're just trying to be a little bullish and arrogant about it.
Right.
Yeah, it cost $120 million to make. Right now it's made $73 million. You know what though? Here's interesting about this. I was doing some research on this week, and it's going to go off on a tangent here. Mad Max did not do well.
It didn't.
It did okay. It basically made back its money in the States. No, it didn't even do that. Hold on, let me. I really thought this was interesting when you talk about what makes something successful, what's considered successful, and what isn't. Right, so it cost $150 million to make. It made $152 million here domestically.
Right,
and then another $220 internationally.
Right.
So its grand total was $373 million.
Right.
So it doubled its money, but it's not like a big block. We kind of have this feeling, right, that it did really well. It didn't. It did okay.
Right.
So I'm nervous that they might not make a sequel. Then you look at stuff like Superman Returns, which basically did the same thing, was an abject failure. And they had to jettison the whole thing and start over again with I can't say superior film, Man of Steel. I can't say that.
Right.
I think it's just interesting how subjective it is. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, let me see here. So Superman Returns Superman Returns made $270 million, and it made 400 worldwide. And see, that is interesting because I was also looking at, Ant-Man. So it cost $130 million to make. It made 152, domestic. So it barely made any money, made its money back, and then it made another 178. So it made about $200 million.
And keep in mind, these production budgets don't include advertising.
Right. So that's what I mean. So you still got to include advertising plus whatever, I don't know if this includes any kind of back end and other charges that they have to have. So it's really interesting to see how much money these things actually will end up making and how much they depend on like DVD sales to like recoup their losses.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Yeah. A lot of it is that. Another one too, that was not a huge hit that some people think it is. Batman Begins.
Yeah.
Didn't do well. It cost $150 to make. They made domestically $205.
Right.
Total $374 if you bring in the international grosses. That's not a huge hit.
Right.
But Man of Steel did pretty much the same thing that Begins did, and what Batman keeps going. And then of course you have The Dark Knight, which is the greatest comic book film of all time. And then you have and then we got to get David Goyer and Snyder doing Man of Steel. It's just weird at what makes something considered something successful and what isn't.
I guess I wish we knew if there was a way to figure out exactly. I mean, because obviously it's all very esoteric, and the film companies don't want anybody to really know what constitutes a true success. But I mean, you're right. I mean, I wonder what that percentage is to where so Ant-Man or Mad Max Fury Road basically doubled its money, or maybe a little bit more than that for production, but how much of that is actually profit? I really would like to know what the profit margin is, because Man of Steel, it made over $500 million. I mean, it made almost $660 million or $670 million on a budget of $225. So I mean, it more than doubled its money, or production costs, I should say. So yeah, it is pretty interesting. But I think a lot of it though also is, and I think this is true of Batman Begins. I think what happens is if you have a first film that has a lot of good buzz with it, I think what the studios then do is, okay, it made its money back, right? It's got a lot of good buzz. It did make us some money. It maybe not have been a huge hit, but it made its a good amount of money. Let's ride that wave of good feelings, and positive buzz into something that we hope will really make us a shit ton of money as you get a lot of, people expecting something great, which is, I think, what happened with something like, The Dark Knight. So maybe.
Yeah, probably. I don't know. It's just interesting. So yeah, Fantastic Four right now is total, including international, 72.8 million. So, but if you got the rights, who knows? I guess maybe you can get it right the next time. I don't know. I think they're all signed for another film too, maybe 3 total. I don't know. I'm curious what they use. If they do go forward too, what do they do? Do they go Annihilus? Do you go Galactus again? God, that was so bad.
Yeah.
Second film. If you do it right. But do you want to follow it that closely? It's just not it's a franchise I don't care about continuing. I don't. Maybe there's some diehard FF fans out there who are so excited about this, or actually are just crushed that they keep churning out crap films. That's probably what I would be. If I kept getting James Bond movies that were on the scale of The Man with the Golden Gun over and over again, I'd just be like, just put it down.
Right.
That's enough.
Well, I mean, and I think what's really going against it is that, they don't have, Fantastic Four has always been kind of like those big cosmic stories. It's another kind of space stories kind of stuff. A lot of other stuff has to do with space, and Fox just doesn't have the rights to a lot of that stuff. They'd have to come up with original stuff on their own. Yeah,
and let's be clear here too. Just like we think it's a mistake to do Superman, at least I do, for Superman to be dark and brooding. Same thing with Fantastic Four. Applying the Dark Knight template to the Fantastic Four franchise is wrong. It's a total misunderstanding of what those comic characters are about. They're about adventure. They're about their family, and it tries to do a little bit of that in here, but it just it feels forced. And everybody in the film feels like they don't know what's going on, or they're in different movies, or it's just weird. I don't know. It's a disaster. If you've seen Fantastic Four, let's move on. I could talk about this for an hour. We may have already.
We pretty much have,
yeah. Feedback at thefirstrun.com. Either one too. We'd love to hear your thoughts of Fantastic Four 94. Let's tell you what's coming up on Blu-ray and DVD this upcoming Tuesday, Matt. That's August 18th. There's another Disney short films collection, including Frozen Fever, not Frozen, but the short that they did. It pretty much, when you go see a Disney movie, they have the little short cartoons in the beginning. So this is just another collection of those. Also includes Feast, Get a Horse, Paperman. I loved Paperman. Tangled Ever After, The Ballad of Nessie, Tick Tock Tale are all in part of that, as well as Prep and Landing, How to Hook Up Your Home Theater, The Little Match Girl, Lorenzo and John Henry. A great little independent film, The 100-Year-Old Man Who Climbed Out the Window and Disappeared, is being released. I haven't seen it, but one of our friends of the show, Kevin O'Toole, the Cultured Dogs, loved this film. He raved about it. It's an international film about an older guy. He's about 100 years old there, and he just decides, you know what, I'm going to start my life over, and just gets involved in all these little adventures. It's kind of like a Forrest Gump thing, where he ends up being at these key moments in history throughout his life, and he explains all this stuff. So that's getting released. Disappeared is being released. I'm sorry, nope. I'm just repeating myself. Strangerland is actually getting a limited release right now. Newly arrived to a remote desert town, Catherine, played by Nicole Kidman, and Matthew, Joseph Fiennes, are tormented by a suspicion when their 2 children mysteriously vanish into a dust storm. New to Blue, Day for Night from Criterion is being released. Includes an all-new 2K digital restoration. It's one of the Truffaut's farces. You can check that out. Includes a documentary from 2003 featuring film scholar Annette Inzendor and some other stuff. One I'm excited for, and I've never seen it. I'm embarrassed to say it, Matt. The Hunger is being released. Includes audio commentary by Susan Sarandon and the director, Tony Scott. Why do I care about The Hunger, Matt?
Yeah, I'm surprised you haven't seen it because it has Bowie in it.
David Bowie, exactly. Yeah, I've never seen it. So it's one of I think it's one of the Warner Brothers Screen Archive ones. It's one of their limited releases. One of my favorite, and I think I know what we're going to use for the stinger at the end of the show. Nomads. I'm sorry, that's wrong, but I'll say it anyway. Nomads is being released. I was thinking of Phantoms. I don't know why. I think it could have popped up in my Netflix the other day, and I was looking at it. So if you're not seeing Nomads, it stars Pierce Brosnan, and it's about they creep, they kill, and no one knows who they are or where they came from. But when these rootless demonic spirits descend on a determined doctor, all hell breaks loose. Bitten by a dying madman named Gene Palmier, Pierce Brosnan. Wait, is he the dying man? I don't know. I know I've never seen it. I don't care. It stars Pierce Brosnan, and it's called Nomads. I'm trying to say Phantoms again. That's what happens when I try and blow through this stuff. Hackers is being released on Blu-ray. That's where we got to meet Angelina Jolie for the first time. The Couch Trip with Dan Aykroyd and Walter Matthau. Never saw it. I should clearly remember the VHS tape cover of it when I was a kid going to the video store, of Dan Aykroyd in a straitjacket with Donna Dixon on one side and Walter Matthau on the other. Diggstown, James Woods and Louis Gossett Jr. is being released. And then, Matt, you're straight to DVD pick of the week. I'm going to go with Bottoms Up. On the surface, Bottoms Up is a documentary film that examines the newest booming trend in aesthetic surgery big backsides. The film explores the media's impact and other societal pressures that have propelled derrieres from a cult fetish to a mainstream phenomenon. With an influx of new it girls from Kim Kardashian to Nicki Minaj, the image are inescapable, Matt. In 2013, the number of butt augmentations increased by 58%. So who is to blame? The media, men, women? Bottoms Up offers different perspectives on the new issue, with commentary from plastic surgeons, plural, women who seek the surgery, and the men who admire the results. The film takes a look at the issue from every angle. One of the key interviews is Luther Campbell.
Nice.
So you're not familiar with Luther Campbell. He had some very famous court cases and some First Amendment issues, and he was in one of the big rock bands from back in the day. Mm-hmm. So, and I'm blanking on what the name was.
Two Live Crew, man.
Thank you, Two Live Crew. I don't know what the heck I was thinking. I can't. So anyway, yes. So if you want to hear what Luther Campbell has to say about big butt augmentation surgeries, this is the documentary for you.
Well, I am sold. I cannot wait to go watch this film.
So do you have any news for us?
Yeah. Let's see here. All right. So as you know, it's D23 this weekend, which is Disney's kind of giant festival con thing that they do. So obviously first day's in the books. We haven't heard anything about Star Wars or Marvel or really anything of that nature so far, but we did hear a bunch of stuff about their animated slate. So let's talk about what we got here. So, we have talked on the show about how Pixar seems to do they'll do their original output seems to be slowing down, and they seem to go in these spurts of doing of sequels. And tell you what, Chris, that's what we're going to be getting for the next few years. So after we get the Good Dinosaur this year, we're basically the next four of the next 5 Pixar movies are all going to be sequels.
Really?
So yes. So next up, we're getting Finding Dory, which is obviously a sequel to Finding Nemo, focused on Dory the fish, which was played by Ella DeGeneres, going to look for her parents. Stars Ed O'Neill, Ty Burrell, and Caitlin Olsen from It's Always Sunny as some of the characters. After that, we're getting a Toy Story 4. Which is supposedly described as a love story where Woody goes on a search to find his lost love, Bo Peep. So we'll see what that's all about. We're getting a movie about the Dia de los Muertos, or the Mexican Day of the Dead, called Coco, which is their sole original venture. And then farther into the future, they've got Cars 3 and The Incredibles 2 planned.
I saw a poster for Incredibles 2, if it's legit.
Yeah. So I think people have been asking for an Incredibles 2 for a long, long time, so I think people are going to be excited for that. But otherwise, what do you think about Pixar going back to their sequel with this new slate they got coming up?
It's fine. It's not like they churn out a bunch of crap. The only stuff is the whole Cars series makes me nervous because I feel like that's their cash in, Planes too.
Yeah,
but
it makes money, so they're not made of stone, right?
Exactly. Got to keep the lights on.
That's right.
And Toy Story 4, I'm sure that'll be great. Incredibles 2, I'm sure will be good. I'm curious about this Day of the Dead Mexican one. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a little scary. That'd be kind of fun if they did like in the vein of Something Wicked This Way Comes, or some of the older, scarier Disney films. They're still for kids, but they've got a little bit of scaring them. I wonder if they'll go that route. Right. I doubt it, but it'd be cool. It'd be cool if they did.
Okay. Also, Disney released its animated slate. So in the next few years, we're getting a movie called Zootopia about an anthropomorphic animal city. I
saw a teaser for that in front of something. Yeah.
Gigantic, which is a retelling of Jack and the Beanstalk, and something called Moana, which is about based off of the mythology of the native Hawaiian peoples. I think Dwayne Johnson, aka The Rock, will be doing the voice of one of the gods in that film.
Well, then I think that's good enough for me. He's getting there as one of those guys I have to go see whatever he makes. Not quite yet.
Not quite yet.
Not quite yet. But like I never saw the Tooth Fairy movie. But still, okay.
Okay.
I gotta tell you, nothing about this is getting me super excited. I've heard that there's, even though it's not Disney, that there's talks of an Iron Giant sequel coming up. So I think I'm getting excited about that if that actually happens.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
But still, all right.
All right. And see what else we got here. So I know we brought it up last week. So just to confirm, to put everybody's fears at rest, Dave Franco has signed on to be in Neighbors 2. So we can all breathe a collective sigh of relief for that. Producer John Davis said that the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen reboot will be female centric, which I think is a cool idea, but I'm a little perplexed on what they would use based off of the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, I guess baseline. It's, Victorian novels were not known for their female lead adventure characters, so I'm a little curious to see who they would go with.
I was just thinking that. I was trying to think in my head what it could be.
Yeah,
just go into just Little Women and do a whole adventure movie with them. Or,
yeah, it's going to be the Little Women and all of the Jane Austen characters, and they've all turned into ninjas or something.
All right, well, we'll see how that turns out. It can't be any worse than the original film.
That's right. This is very true. And then let's see some TV news for you. So NBC has ordered a workplace sitcom based on superheroes called Powerless, described as The Office with superheroes. So we'll see how that goes. CBS has picked up a series for one of your favorite films of all time, Training Day, which I know you think very highly of.
I was just talking about that the other day. What was I saying? Because Anton Fuqua's got a new... So Southpaw is an Antoine Fuqua film. And I have never seen a film of his that I thought is even remotely good. I don't know how he keeps churning out. Like, I think with The Equalizer he did, which wasn't even that good. And he's horrible. Absolutely horrible. So... Wait, so I got lost. Is it a sequel to Training Day? How would that work?
It's just based off of Training Day, so I don't know if they're going to use like the same kind of thing where they just
another cop in his first
dirty cop with in the first day. And
who do you cast? Who do you want to see as the dirty cop?
As the dirty cop?
Mm-hmm. I want to go against type. I can't believe I'm even saying this. I think I'd like to see Tatum in that role. I really would like to see him stretch and see if he could do like on
TV
slime ball. Oh, it's a TV show.
Yeah, it's a TV show.
Never mind then.
Yeah, maybe you get Mads Mikkelsen if he could somehow. I think he'd be cool as a dirty cop.
Yeah, but he's got the accent, right? Wouldn't that be weird?
I guess, but I could look past that.
Maybe dirty detective, not a street cop.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that now. No, but I do think I'd rather see a film with Tatum as man. There's something about seeing him doing something like, because I can't think of any film he's done where he's really been the villain, right?
Right. Neither can I.
I don't know why Tatum popped in my head. I don't know why I have to talk to my psychiatrist about that. Probably something going on there.
That's right.
All right.
And then lastly, on the CW DC universe, which everybody here on the show is a big fan of, Bryan Cranston. Yeah,
that would be good.
Yeah,
but maybe two into type now. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Continue.
Well, then you could have Aaron Paul be his little buddy.
That would be great, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
that would be awesome.
Yeah. Or you could flip it.
Where Paul's the dirty cop and Cranston's what? He was an accountant or a school. So Cranston's a school teacher, but in his later years, he wants to be a cop.
Or maybe he was like a longtime beat cop who finally becomes a detective or something.
Right.
Yeah, there you go. And then lastly, Matt Ryan, he'll be reprising his role as John Constantine on Arrow.
You mentioned this. What's funny is I was at the Tampa Comic-Con just 2 weeks ago, and Matt Ryan was there. He did a panel, and I went to check it out because I was curious what he might reveal about Hellblazer, or Constantine, excuse me. And somebody in the audience asked him that, one of the producers of Arrow had said they'd like to figure out a way to work you into the show. And he goes, hey, if they want to do, I haven't heard anything, but I'm open to it if it happens.
Yeah.
And boom, like 2 weeks later, it's going to happen.
There you go. So I mean, unfortunately, the plot's pretty much out there, so I don't think I'm spoiling for anybody here. But basically, we all know that Sarah Lance will be coming back as the White Canary, and for the Legends of Tomorrow series. So really, John Constantine will be playing a role as someone who's involved with the occult and magic, who will be helping bring Sarah back.
I still hate that name. Just drop of Tomorrow and just stick with the Legends or something. I think it's a much better idea. That's fine with me. I think I say this every time. I'm going to keep saying it until somebody listens to me. First of all, I think Matt Ryan did a great job on that show. I think the show's failure has nothing to do with him. I think because they weren't quite sure where to go with that show in the very beginning. A couple things didn't really work. I didn't like Supernatural Chaz. I didn't see the point of that. But that show needs to be on HBO.
Mm-hmm.
It has to. You put that show on HBO, you churn up the horror a little bit, and boom, you're gonna have a show that's gonna run for 10 years. I don't know why they can't figure this out. It's one of the richest characters for me in comic history. It's because he's an anti-hero. He's a bad guy. He's a bastard. Doesn't care about anybody else, basically, though he kind of secretly does. But he will turn on his best friends if he needs to.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just it's so many great story arcs for them to cover if they want to go that route too. One of the things Matt Ryan said too is that he wished the show ran for about 3 or 4 years. His ultimate goal was to get to Dangerous Habits. If you haven't read Dangerous Habits in Hellblazer, I'm telling you, if you're a comic fan, pick it up. It is one of the best Hellblazer runs that they ever did. And it just kills me that such a great talent, such a great character has been wasted now twice. Mm-hmm. And they slotted it Friday night at 10 o'clock to start too. Come on. Whatever. All right. So anyway, you know what? I'm just happy to see him again.
Yeah. I think it'd be interesting because I had heard that Legends of Tomorrow is going to be more anthology. I don't know how much the entire cast is going to carry over from season to season. So it may be relatively self-contained. So if they do it that way, I think it'd be pretty cool if they did like a mystical season where you could have somebody like, and this would be really hard to pull off on a CW budget, but you could have like, Constantine and Zatanna. What's her name?
I always thought it was
Zatanna. Maybe even bring in the Swamp Thing, which I think would be cool. Kind of almost like a Justice League Dark kind of thing going on for a season.
I love the Spectre and I love Dr. Fate as well.
Yeah.
So if you could, they were doing that with Constantine, as they were bringing in the Spectre slowly.
Yeah.
And I would have loved. You want to talk about another show that could be awesome, or a film, is the Spectre. If you're not familiar with the Spectre at all, he's basically God's the spirit of vengeance on Earth, and all he does is avenge horrible things.
Right.
John Ostrander's comic series on that too was really good, and that ran for like 5 years. But I think the Spectre is another great one they could do something with, and hope maybe they could bring. That'd be great if they could maybe. And you know what? Maybe that Arrow episode's going to have the Spectre, or it's going to have Dr. Fate in some way or another too. So they made a nod to Dr. Fate in the Constantine show. They had his helmet, I think, on one of the shelves in his base there. So interesting. All right, that's good. Anything else?
That's it.
All right. So let me talk briefly about The Gift. So Joel Edgerton, his writing and directorial debut. He plays a guy named Gordo the Weirdo. And so basically, Jason Bateman and Rebecca Hall. Rebecca has some issues, so they move to another part of the country, and they're getting acclimated. And Bateman's got his new job, and everything seems to be going great. And Bateman runs into an old friend of his who he went to high school with, Gordo, Joel Edgerton. And something happened. We don't know what, but something happened between Bateman and Edgerton's character when they were younger. And Edgerton's Gordo kind of keeps randomly, you see this in the trailer, he keeps kind of randomly showing up and leaving different presents, gifts, if you will. And things get kind of increasingly weird and more uncomfortable. And Edgerton, I think it's how it's pronounced, does a great job of kind of ratcheting up the tension. It's a really entertaining adult thriller. I think one of the great things about it, it's got a little bit of bait and switch in it. where you think you know who these characters are, and then kind of things kind of shift as the film progresses. And then they kind of come back to the original starting point. But still, I think it is a great job with the character development in this film. Bateman, I'm not used to seeing in these kind of more serious roles. I think he does a great job. Edgerton is this kind of wounded but potentially monstrous person as well. He's fantastic, and Rebecca Hall's great. She's not so much the damsel in distress that you may assume from the trailer. Her character's a lot more. There's a lot more layers to her than that. But I think really it comes down to, I think, Matt, that it's just a very well done thriller. If I had to grade it, I'd say it's a solid B. I don't know if it's something you need to rush out and see in the theaters right away. But if it shows up on Netflix, or if you're looking for a fun little film one night to check out, it delivers. I really, really enjoyed The Gift. I'm glad I got to check it out.
Cool. Yeah, it's something I definitely will be interested to see at some point in the near future.
Yeah, you should definitely see it when it hits. So if you get a chance to see The Gift too, shoot us an email at feedback@thefirstrun.com. I don't want to spend too much time on it because I don't want to reveal any of the stuff that happens in the film. So, but it's definitely worth checking out. Matt, let's go ahead and shift then to the final segment of the show and end everybody suffering with Who Dat. This is our role-playing game. I usually have to wear certain outfits, but now that we started doing the video cast, I stopped doing that because doing the changes mid-show was always kind of uncomfortable for people.
Well, you got to give the audience what they want. I think that's part of the problem.
That's true. That's very true. So we're going to basically we're going to ask each other questions, but we have to answer as this character or this person, whoever it is. So, Matt, why don't you go ahead and start things off for us?
All right, here we go. Christopher, you are Shane Black, writer, director of the new Predator film. And you've said that your approach to this is to make this more of an inventive sequel than a reboot for the Predator franchise. So, Shane, can you give us a little bit more on what you're keeping and what you're jettisoning from the franchise?
Well, I don't know a lot of people realize this, but I was actually in the original Predator film.
I know. I was a big fan of your character.
Thank you. A lot of people forget that. They don't realize that was me and how I was pretty jacked back then. I wasn't Ventura or Arnold jacked or Apollo Creed jacked, but I was pretty good. And yeah, I'm excited to get back to this franchise. I think what I want to do is the original film it's just a classic of 80s action science fiction. It really is. And what I love is that the whole thing started out as a joke. When you look back at the origins of Predator, it started out as because people are saying, well, what's Rocky going to fight next? An alien? And that's kind of the genesis of the whole Predator thing. So we're gonna jettison the Alien versus Predator stuff, just like they tried to do with the Predators movie with ultimate action badass Adrian Brody. So we're going to do that, and so we're going to get back to the core of what this is, and we're going to have one guy get hunted. What I'd love to do is to bring Arnold back as an aging Dutch, and the Predators are coming back to get revenge. No, that wouldn't make sense because they all know what they're signing up for. But I like the idea of an aging Dutch with a younger version. I'm thinking, who's the it guy? Jay Courtney. And then what we do is Captain Bland himself. And we drop them into Fallujah, some really horrible place. We make everybody uncomfortable, and then we have the Predator running around hunting us down while they engage in war against ISIS.
Wow, that sounds fantastic. Is it going to take place in a jungle, or are we going to move it to a different locale? Maybe like we've seen the Arctic, I guess.
I told you, Fallujah. You're not
Fallujah.
Listening?
Oh, okay. No, I missed that. I'm sorry, Shane. Forgive me. I was already thinking about my next question like a bad interviewer.
I think we got to go heat, right? I think it has to stay someplace warm. I don't think they go to the Arctic at all. They don't go anyplace cold, do they?
Well, did you forget the masterpiece that is Aliens versus Predator?
Oh, that's right, the first one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How about this? What do we do? Predator versus the Thing.
Ooh, that'd be pretty sweet. Well, no, because I have such affection for the Thing franchise, and I don't want to see anybody shit on it. But I think it'd be pretty cool.
How about this? How about this? We bring the Predators to Krypton, and that's actually what happened to the planet. Because on Krypton, they're just normal people.
There you go. Very true. Well, how about we do this? We put the aliens on Krypton, and then that's what happened, and then the Predators came in and killed all the aliens. How about that?
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. Fantastic. Write it up.
Okay. Matt, you're Sam Mendes. No. I'm going to make you a little happier. You're Daniel Craig.
Ooh, okay, thank
You'd
you.
rather be Daniel Craig than Sam Mendes, right?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
All right. So the new James Bond film, Spectre, supposedly is going to give us the origin of James Bond. We're going to find out all the stuff that happened from when your parents died in a rock climbing accident, if they really did, and then what brought you to become the secret agent James Bond. Is this a mistake?
Well, if I could you'll have to forgive me. I've been out of character so long doing another movie. I have an American accent right now, but
you're doing the Christian Bale thing where you speak.
Yes, I am. I'm very method.
People don't get freaked out when they hear your English accent. Like,
exactly.
Wait a minute.
Yes, exactly. No, I think I personally, I fought Mendes on this. I think it's a bit of a mistake. I think part of the allure of the character of James Bond is the fact that, you don't know his backstory. He's kind of like this nebulous killing machine. And I think going into a lot of that stuff and explaining all of that is going to get rid of kill a little bit of the mystique for the character.
I think that's entirely possible. And I think that's why I posed the question.
Yeah. And I think, I also like the idea of sort of kicking around as we were trying to, think of new actors who were going to replace me eventually. The idea that Tom Hardy, that the idea of that James Bond is not necessarily a person per se, but a title, like a mantle, a role that somebody takes over.
I hate that idea. I think it's a fun fan theory, but there's something about that I just don't like. I don't like the fact that it's just this one guy that survives all the adventures. I think if it's just a code name for an operative, I don't like it. It's just something about that idea. It just bothers me.
Well, you're wrong. I'm sorry to say, and I'm Daniel Craig, and I am James Bond, so I'm telling you, you're wrong.
Whatever. I have to admit, I do agree with you, though. I think that maybe revealing too much of his origin is going to be a mistake, especially. Do not do this, Mendes. If you make Blofeld be his like half brother or adopted brother, I swear I don't know what I'm going to do. I may walk out of that theater. We know that's not true, and I'm lying. But I really would really bother me if that's what they decide to do. It seems so cheap and hackneyed, such a ridiculous plot device. It would really bother me, like Scooby-Doo level bad.
Right.
We'll see what happens. What do you got?
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. So you're Ben Affleck. I know you're going through some rough times right now. I'm sorry.
Yeah, be gentle.
Thank you for coming down to sit down with us with all that you got going on. So, you signed on to play the Batman in Batman versus Superman. And I think we're all, we're cautiously optimistic about it. We're interested to see what you can bring to the role. But how do you feel, with the whole fact that they've been so impressed with they being DC and Warner Brothers? They're so they've been so impressed with your role that they're actually shoehorning a lot more Batman standalone films and in Batman into other films that in their DCU universe. So how do you feel about being potentially the center of the DCU universe, as well as Batman being the center of the DC universe?
Well, I think it only makes sense. First off, next to Superman, I'm the most iconic comic book character on the planet. It's Superman, and then it's me, right? And why you use me is because I'm you. You could be me if you had billions of dollars and did nothing but train on martial arts for 10 years. And even then, you'd probably get killed within the first day. But you could still be me. Unlike, you can't be Superman. I'm the human element in this entire thing. So I'm the mirror. I'm the one everybody's going to look to and watch and to identify with everything that's going on. And I'm just cool as hell. I'm badass, right? Not only, what? I'm sorry, the babysitters. What? No. 1 minute. So, but I think it's some people have said it's a mistake to center the DC universe around me as an aging Batman. But I'm telling you, I think it's the right thing to do. Batman is awesome. I'm awesome. What else are you going to do? I have some concerns at the fact that I am in my 40s at this point, and how long can I keep this going? Well, let's remind everybody, Roger Moore was James Bond into his 60s, and at no point did he look foolish.
Yeah, none.
So, but I still think that I think it's the way to go. As I said, it's Batman. Everybody loves Batman. And if we keep fumbling with Superman, you're going to need something to ground everything if you keep screwing up Superman. So
true. Yeah, I agree with you that Batman is DC's probably most loved and best recognizable character. I'm a little concerned that one using a hero, especially one who's a human hero, as the through line for all of these movies that trying to interconnect them is. I'm a little cautious about how that's going to look, especially when you get to things like Aquaman, and what are you going to have? Batman in a scuba suit at the bottom of Atlantis, or standing on the pier as Aquaman comes out of the water and being like, yo, I heard there was a bunch of sharks over here, so I had to come check it out. So I don't know. I'm a little confused at how they're going to make all this work.
Well, Black Manta's a human in a diving suit, so I'll handle him when he's on land. You're not thinking of the toy and material stuff. All the stuff like with Star Wars, scuba Batman, carrier jet Batman, astronaut Batman. You need all these things.
Very true. You're right. I've neglected all of your myriad bat suits that you have that you can really get in that you can use.
If Iron Man can have a couple dozen Iron Man suits, I can have cliff jumping Batman. I can have volcano Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Why not?
Very good.
I hope you realize the error of your ways.
I do.
So this was going to be my last one, but I think I'll just skip right to it now. You're Johnny Hollywood, president of show business.
Okay.
There have been screenings of Batman versus Superman: Dawn of Justice that have ended in standing ovations.
Mm-hmm.
Is that legit?
Are
we really going to get a standing ovation film?
I don't think that John Q. Public, my brother John Q. Public, is going to really enjoy the film that much. I mean, to be honest, let's be real here. I mean, this is we're dealing with people who are desperate to make money. They want it to make as much money as possible. They have a very vested interest in this being doing well and being good. So I mean, I think it's maybe a little bit of gamemanship on their part, just saying, I don't doubt that they had a standing ovation, but I mean, the story getting out and kind of getting people pumped for it. I think that's their job. I mean, that's really what they're there to do, is have a movie be successful and boost the marketing. Cheap too.
Yeah, I think you're probably right about that. That's too bad. It's disappointing. Yeah. I started getting my hopes up, like, wow, could they actually pull this off? And I'm like, nah, probably.
Well, that bastard brother of mine, John Q. Public, has very finicky taste, so we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I think more often than not, they tend to get it right, though. But all right, go ahead. What do you got?
All right, so this is my last one. So you're the head of the Fox movie comics universe, whoever that is. I don't even know who that is, and I couldn't be bothered to look it up. So anyway, you're that person. Hugh Jackson is retiring after Wolverine 3.
Is that Hugh Jackman's cousin?
Yes, Hugh. He. Yes. Okay. Well, it's a little known fact. His name is actually Hugh Jackson Jackman. I just didn't know that was his middle name. It was, yeah. I didn't throw in his last name. Excuse me. That's very rude of me. To assume familiarity with Hugh there. So Hugh Jackman is retiring after Wolverine and X-Men Apocalypse. And a lot of the actors are really getting old. Now I know that you're trying to reboot with younger characters here. So how are you going to do this going forward? Are you just going to kind of wash your hands of everybody else as far as, the Cyclopses and the Patrick Stewarts of the world, and just stick with this younger cast and then move forward with them from there? Or are you going to completely reboot to older films with new actors in that same continuity?
Well, I think we can just keep recasting, because when you're able to lock up people like James McAvoy and the Michael Fassbender to play younger versions of your actors, I think you're okay with replacing people. I think the trickiest one will be Wolverine. He'll be the hardest one to kind of reset actor-wise. But again, when you got guys like Jake Courtney out there ready to step into that role, I think I think we got to do is you got to give it time. To give it like 5 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
and then you bring it back with a younger actor and kind of maybe reset. The thing too that's tricky about Wolverine is he ages a lot slower than everybody else, right?
Right.
So you could work him in, and maybe you find a guy that kind of looks like him, a la Superman,
right,
with Brandon Routh. So maybe you go that route, but I don't think you reboot everything entirely, or maybe you do. Maybe after Apocalypse, you just sit on it for 8 years and you start over again.
Right.
That tends to be what we in Hollywood do. I mean, if you look at Spider-Man, every few years we get a new one, and everybody seems to love it when we do it. Nobody complains at all.
Oh no! Although I'm very excited for this new one. I know that's your competitor, but I have faith in this new set of incarnations for that. So I really hope that you do just kind of reset, or maybe just move on to other X franchises and let the X-Men rest a little bit, and maybe you have some X-Forces or X-Factors or Deadpools and stuff to kind of fill up your mutant quotient.
The Jubilee film you've been looking for, the Jubilee trilogy.
Well, yeah, her and Dazzler, they could be like a buddy cop comedy, which I think would
Road
be
trip,
fantastic.
like a Thelma and Louise with
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, why not? All right, Matt, I got one more for you as well.
Okay.
You're George Lucas.
Of course I am.
After all the hate you received for the prequels, how do you feel about all the warmth and love and anticipation that J.J. Abrams is getting right now for his Star Wars sequel?
Well, it's bittersweet. I mean, obviously, this is still my universe. This is something I still created. So, of course, I laid those foundations, and a lot of the warmth that people are feeling are for characters that, I nurtured and I created, like Luke and Han and Leia and, all that kind of stuff. So part of this is still my baby. But it does sting a little bit that people weren't really on board with, the midichlorians, which are obviously the most rational answer to the Force, as opposed to being a mystic religion or anything like that.
But let me ask, what about the collective sigh of relief when you sold the properties to Disney for the next film, for the rights to make the films? And everybody was excited and happy that you were out the door.
You know what? If you're going to be confrontational there as an interviewer, I got news for you. I've got billions of bills to be happy with, motherfucker. What up?
And with that, we hit the explicit tag. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's tough. I got to say, like, if all the stuff that I created that everybody adores, not only is the film that I didn't direct the best one in the series, but everybody was ecstatic that I had let this stuff go to Disney. So another thing, too, I want to point out that they've announced that they're going to re-release the films on Blu-ray again for the new film.
Yeah.
And still no original.
Still no original?
No. Yeah. I really thought this was going to be it. But they're just doing new covers again.
Now, do you know that did I in a drunken haze just go and destroy all the original prints and there's none left? I mean, is that why they just can't do that anymore?
No, that can't be. There have to be. I think there's prints archived too in DC. So I can't imagine. It's a group of. I think it's a series that were considered historically important.
Oh, gotcha.
They have original versions of them.
Right. So they're in the Library of Congress or something.
Yeah. So, no, they're out there. You're just a bastard. But I really thought Disney was going to do it. Maybe for the next series.
Well, I think when they really need to milk some more money after, because they're going to be making money hand over fist. Once it kind of like a little bit of the fatigue sets in a little bit, as we see with the Marvel Universe, because they're just coming up with just insane numbers of films to come out with this. Once that starts to taper off a little bit, they're going to sweep in and be like, here's the original you always wanted in whatever new format we have, the 4K, whatever, enjoy. And people will eat that crap up.
Why you go with crap now? You're already deep in. You had an S-bomb.
Well, I didn't know if you were going to cut it out or something. Okay. So I just wanted to, go from there. Actually, here, I want to show you something real quick, though.
Mm-hmm. Waiting.
Look what I found in my basement. Now I just got to figure out how to get these original version VHSs onto a DVD or into my computer, and I will have them for whenever I want to look at them.
Nice. You know what's funny? My local library, when I was still in Connecticut, had the DVD version. When they first released on DVD, they had both versions.
Oh, really?
It's just that the original version was not in good shape. It was kind of like they just slapped it on a disc.
Right.
It wasn't cleaned up. It just looked like crap. And I was able to burn them. So I had digital versions of them on my computer, and then my computer died, and I lost them all.
Oh, that's a heartbreaking story.
Every now and then I do find them.
Yeah.
like at libraries or stuff, but that's it. Like if you find them online, you're gonna pay a pretty pay for them. I'll get those words out. So all right, that's fantastic. That was fun.
Mm-hmm.
So did you disagree with any of our answers? Shoot us an email at feedback@thefirstrun.com. Next week, Matt, I'm on the fence. 2 films. I want to see Straight Outta Compton. Part of me wants to see The Man from U.N.C.L.E. because I like that they're going to be focusing on that whole 60s era motif thing. So I think that'd be a lot of fun. I'm not sure which way to go yet. So it'll probably be a surprise next week. We'll see if we can find something on Netflix too so you can join in. We'll figure that all out. In the meantime, look us up on the YouTubes and Facebooks and the Twitters. We're everywhere. Just do a search for The First Run. Matt's phone is ringing. You can also check us out at thefirstrun.com, of course. And you can watch the live show on YouTube. That's a big show for this week. We're going to take an extended break. I feel like I'm forgetting something, but I don't care because I'm done talking.
Okay.
So we'll see you all in a week. Thanks for watching and/or listening.
See ya.
Friday. Shit, does it say who's fucking playing us in the movie?
No, but it's Miramax, so I'm sure it'll be Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. You know, they put them in a bunch of movies.
Who?
You know, those kids from Good Will Hunting?
You mean that fucking movie with Mork from Ork in it?
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan either. But Affleck was the bomb in Phantoms.
Word, bitch. Phantom's like a motherfucker.
What's up now?